So I'm standing here today at the restoration of the Jamestown settlement that was first established in 1607 on an island close by here that I'll also be visiting and showing in another video. But this shows the settlement at a higher point of its development, maybe another 10 years to 15 years beyond when they first settled in 1607. In 1607, the race was on between the Spanish, the Portuguese, the French, who already had some well-established presence in the Western Hemisphere. Of course, the French were establishing themselves in today's Canada through to the Great Lakes. The Spanish and the Portuguese had already exploited Central America and today's South America. And the Portuguese had also established themselves in Western Africa, and of course you had the Dutch in places beyond. With James I coming to rule England right at the beginning of the 1600s, he wanted to get in on the game. They charter a small group of initial settlers to come in three ships that arrive in 1607. They establish a small settlement. Most of them, or a good chunk of them, die in the first winter before they're resupplied the following year. There's a couple of these winters that come back and forth that a lot of the settlers die off, and then finally, several years later, they get a little more serious about it. They send hundreds of settlers as well as well-armed professional soldiers to establish like a really strong presence here and continue to building. There's a matchlock demonstration in the distance, which I got some video of too. From here, they have conflicts with the local Powhatan Indians who had been here for about 16,000 years, led by a regional chief who had sort of loosely united 30 separate tribes. By the time the English arrive here with a little over 100 people in 1607, there's some 14,000 united tribes people. So establishing a military force becomes very important to the vastly outnumbered English. I'll just take a quick walk through some of the recreation, and you can see how they've recreated this. And today there's, like so many of these kind of recreated sites, there's a ton of school groups here. And so here inside the town are these sort of half-timbered English buildings that you would have found back in Europe, that by the 16-teens and the 1620s were sort of well establishing England's foothold in North America.